Hello and welcome to the Fall 2024 Winter 2025 Adult Book Buzz from HarperCollins Publishers. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Links to today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and title list by copying the URLs on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable captions on your screen, please look for and click the live transcript icon on the toolbar mentioned earlier. From there, you can select Show or Hide Captions from the menu that appears. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of the captions at any time by selecting Subtitle Settings. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a section for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we'll pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates this standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. Joining us today, we have Lainey Mays, Library Marketing Associate, and Grace Caternolo, Library Marketing Assistant. Along with Virginia Stanley, they make up the Library Love Fest team. They love to bring librarians and great books together. Check out their newsletter, podcasts, monthly video series, and more at librarylovefest.com. Thank you both so much for being here. Take it away.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lainey.
And I'm Grace.
And we're so thrilled to be here with you. We're missing our third, Virginia Stanley, but she's sending all of her love. And so we have a lot of books to get through. If you were at ALA, welcome back. I hope you're staying cool wherever you are because it's so hot everywhere. But we came back from ALA and we decided wanted to bring this to this audience. It's going to be some books we talked about if you're at our buzz. You'll know and you'll remember how excited we were, and then a whole slew of all kinds of other books. So if you don't have something to read by the end of this, I can't help you because we have a lot of books in here. And it's a little bit of everything. So we didn't want anyone to miss out if you weren't at our buzz. But we're going to do things a little bit differently today. We're going to stop on some titles, present them. You'll get our usual buzzing style. And then we have some categories that are kind of like also like the books we're stopping on. So it's a great way to jam a lot of reads in there. And we're going to go as fast as we can, slowly so you can hear us, but very fast. And then we're going to, if we don't get to everything, you have a title list. Know that we're trying our best, and if we get hung up on one, we're really passionate about it. So that's about it for me for the housekeeping, I think. And I'm gonna hand it to Grace to tell you about this slide and scan for titles right there.
Yeah, thank you, Lainey. So that QR code will lead you to Edelweiss, but also the spreadsheet you got does have the links to the pages in there as well, so you can click right there. So we offer a variety of programs. You might be familiar with our Writers to Watch event that we do once a month. We're off for the summer, so the next one will be in September, but we have about four authors on, and they talk about their books and take questions from you. Galley Gab Fest is another program we do once a month, which again, offer the summer, but we're here for this. So even better, because it's, a lot of books, a lot of time. And it's basically just book buzzing. And then 5 minutes we have authors talk directly to you about their books. And then bookmarks by Lainey. Lainey, I don't know if you want to jump in to give a quick synopsis. It's essentially Lainey's Shelf Talkers, a little introduction about books that she's been loving lately. And
I updated it. We have 6 new books, so go check it out. Super fun. It's color coded.
She's a Virgo. And I say we jump right in. Yeah.
Only one reminder, and we can go to, it's fine if you go next, but e-galleys, I wanted to point that out. So like, this is a good example. On the bottom, you don't see an Edelweiss or NetGalley badge at the bottom, that means it's not available yet. If it's available, Grace has made this wonderful spreadsheet with all the Edelweiss links, so you can go see if they're available or not. But on the slide, it'll tell you. And print galleys are kind of few and far in between sometimes these days. So e-galleys are going to be the best way to get all of the books that we have available, or wait for the book to come up. So I just want to throw that out there. And we have a really exciting thing first. Jennifer Weiner, and we have a video for you.
Hello, librarians, and I'm so excited to tell you a little bit about my new book, The Griffin Sisters' Greatest Hits. It's the story of two sisters, one of whom is a musical prodigy with no social skills, the other one of whom is beautiful but not very talented. They become the hottest thing on the pop charts in the early aughts, and then we meet them again 20 years later when a young woman with connections to both sisters is trying to launch her own career and solve the mystery of what happened to the band. I loved writing it, and I hope you guys love reading it. Libraries have always been special to me. As a kid with a giant vocabulary and no friends, trying to use books to understand the world, as a mother, as a reader, as an author, and as a citizen who knows that librarians are on the front lines of the battle over whose stories get told. You are my heroes.
Okay. Jennifer Weiner, super exciting. We were excited to have her new book, but also very lovely that she took the time to record that for us. She loves libraries. So we're going to move to the next title. And that's The Float Test by Lynn Staker Strong. So Lynn is the author of the novels Flight and Want and Hold Still. And The Float Test explores similar terrain to Flight, the pleasures and complications of family, the purity of ambition and desire set against systemic societal failings. And that really builds on this in this book, but it's really large and ambitious. It's a big read, and it's all about the Kinner siblings, and they're all at odds. We have a mom struggling with the weight of family obligations, a novelist who can't write. Jude is recovering a corporate lawyer with a grudge against her former favorite sister, and then the baby is estranged from his wife and harboring both a secret about his former employer and an ill-advised crush on one of his sister's friends. So they've gathered together after major loss, and each sibling needs the others more than ever. But can they trust each other? So it's a family story, of course, and with that comes like whoever's telling it is the honest person at the time, right? So there's a lot of secrets, and over the course of a sweltering Florida summer, the siblings revisit what it means to be a family, and if they're smart and kind and lucky, maybe they can come out on the other side better for knowing each other. We have two really great quotes coming in already. One of them from Ann Napolitano, who said the sense of place and how sticky, dense, and the heat is of Florida, the relentless sun, the flat roads ending in the ocean, it's woven into the Kinner family's DNA. And so they try to untangle decades of betrayals and sorrow and reclaim their sense of home. Lynn is such a fabulous storyteller, and we love a family drama.
Okay, and next. Okay, we have The Californians. This is from the author of Nine Shiny Objects, which got praise from Hernan Diaz, William Finnegan, and Jenny O'Fill, and it was longlisted for the Penn Faulkner. And The Californians is a new one, and it spans 100 years of American history. It's very, very big in scope, and it's very impressive. So in the 2024 timeline, Toby is not doing great. He's a college dropout, recently got dumped, and he lost everything he has in a Californian wildfire. So he decides to steal 3 paintings by the controversial artist Die Stiegel from his father's wall, and he hopes to sell them so he can start anew in a place where he can't be found. In the other timeline, 100 years earlier, Klaus, a German Jewish immigrant, slips into a film studio in Astoria, Queens, and he rebrands himself as this like silent film director, and he reaps all that it sows: fame, romance, and betrayal. And then in our other timeline, we have Di, Klaus's granddaughter, who's this like gritty 1980s artist in New York City, reflecting on America. And it's just this like huge saga that is this massive reflection on American consciousness. And it's a truly, truly impressive book. And it's so hard to sum up so quickly. So I hope I did that justice. This one is now available on NetGalley and Edelweiss as of a week or so ago. So go check that one out. And then next.
Okay, this is our new thing, our new roundup. So this is Family Ties. We can't choose our family drama, but we can choose our family. We can choose a fictional family's drama we dive into. So this is A Reason to See You Again by Jamie Attenberg. Return to fiction after memoir for Jamie, following a troubled mother and her 2 daughters over 40 years as America is changing, starting in the 70s. They go through motherhood, inherited trauma, and the ever-evolving ways we communicate with one another. It's a really beautiful read, and it's kind of a slim novel. I could not put it down. This Love is a debut that spans 10 years of friendship, a page-turning, emotionally evocative, and bursting with charm read. It covers difficult yet familiar subjects such as family dysfunction. Yeah, we all know that. Foster care, infertility, and with subtlety and nuance. Explores a lot of forms of love, romantic, queer, and otherwise, platonic, familial, and it was already published in the UK, and it's getting a lot of love. Next is, on the next slide is Maya and Natasha. It's a stunning debut novel set in the fascinating world of Cold War Soviet ballet, following the fates of twin sisters whose bond is competitive and complicated. It's well researched and takes you right to the ballet company. There's a lot of layers, so it's going to be good for book clubs. And then we have Zeal. We love Morgan Jerkins. This is she's the best-selling author of This Will Be My Undoing and Call Baby. She's returning with an epic multi-generational novel, most ambitious book yet, really incorporating little-known history, historical details in a sweeping look at the lives of Black Americans from 1865 to present day. So I think that is the end of Family Ties. How's everybody doing? Put it in the chat if you're like loving this new way we're doing it or not as we go. Also, I mean, you could put your family drama in there too. I'll read that later, but let us know how you're doing in this presentation. And I think I'll hand it off for our next round.
Okay, Book and Dagger. We have been loving this book, and you've been loving this book. Elise Graham attended ALA and had so many wonderful programs and a very long signing line. So thank you to everyone who attended. Book and Dagger is a refreshing angle on World War II, which I know there's so many World War II books out there, but this one is particularly special. Elise is a historian and professor at Stony Brook University, and this book is about the librarians and academics who worked as spies for the Office of Strategic Services during World War II as the US needed more intelligence. So Elise uses personal histories, declassified OSS files, archival materials, and diaries to research the importance of these spies during World War II. I found the spy Adele to be one of the most interesting. She was an archivist who was sent to Stockholm to acquire documents for the OSS. And they were sent to spies were sent to libraries. They need access to information that would help them during the war. And not all that info was there. So Adele stepped in and took great risks to deliver that document to the US. And what I love most about this book is it really makes this case for the importance of libraries and the value of maintaining records and providing access to a broad collection of books and materials. I think often when we think intelligence units, I don't know why I picture one of those rooms from a movie where there's all these computers and men on headphone sets, but I think this makes a case for the importance of humanities in this type of work and how librarians and academics are really essential. And this one also reads like a thriller. I think it's great to recommend for people who may not generally go for nonfiction, but maybe are into things like World War II. So I think public libraries and academic libraries are really going to like this one. And that's Book and Dagger. So the next slide. Black and Blues. Oh my gosh. So tell me this isn't the prettiest cover you've ever seen. And the writing is just as beautiful. You all know Amani Perry. She needs little introduction. She is but I'll give her some anyway. She is a 2022 National Book Award winner for nonfiction. Her last book, South to America, which we proudly published in 2022, was phenomenal. And Black and Blues is a social, cultural, and historical look at the color blue and its relationship to Blackness. So she uses the color blue to examine race and Blackness that goes far beyond political ideology. So when reading the book, we first see this association when blue cloth from West Africa was exchanged and traded for human beings in the 1500s. And we continue to see its ties throughout the history of slavery. And she talks about the Black community creating blues music from there and its legacy sense. And she just really reaches, again, beyond history and talks about this emotional and spiritual aspect and draws from her own lived experience. It's very narrative driven. And I've never read a book like this before. If you read South to America, then you know that her writing style is really powerful and unique. And with this book, I remember when they first told us about it, I'm like, this is so specific and so focused. And yes, it is, but it also is so vast and sweeping. So I think academic libraries are really going to benefit from this one in their collection. Again, public libraries as well. And as a side note, it'll feature color photos that highlight different artists from different mediums that capture the color blue. And that is Black and Blues. So we have the next slide. Okay, so nonfiction, the Mavericks Museum. If you're a museum nerd like me, this is a must read. Art critic Blake Gopnik takes a look at Albert Barnes, who is one of America's like first great collectors of modern art, and talks about how his collection and work impacted America. And if you are in Philadelphia ever, museum is there. So this is a really well researched and compelling book. And then we have Morningside. Aaron Shetterly's new book is unfortunately timely and is about the 1979 racial tragedy in Greensboro, North Carolina, and the grassroots activists who fought for justice. So public and academic librarians are going to flock to this one. It's essential reading for those interested in history, particularly history that's at risk of being forgotten, but is just as important as it ever was and speaks to today. So our next slide. Okay, Lincoln's Lady Spymaster. This is a really thrilling saga of Civil War told through the eyes of a Southern woman who became a spy for the Union. I think that women's stories during the Civil War are often overlooked, and this one's particularly fascinating. As we know from Book and Dagger, spies are a hot topic. And again, when I think of the Civil War and women, I think a lot about medics and nurses, which were very important. But this one definitely is like a new look at the Civil War. So our next slide, passing off to Lainey.
Okay. You know, some people are saying, Grace, that they would like dates with the roundup slides, which is very good feedback. Thank you. I just checked and the link for the Edelweiss is in your notes, but I don't know that the date is. So I'm going to do my best as we're going to come up with the dates for you for my roundups. If I miss any, it's very good feedback. So thank you. But it should be in the Edelweiss catalog Grace has put together with everything. You can use that as your notes as well. All right. House of Blight. So this one's super fun. This is Maximum Martineau, and you may know this author from Kingdom of Exiles. That was her debut. And this is a first novel in a really dark romantic-y gothic fantasy duology. And it has the main character of Adira, and Adira's a threadmender, so she can save people's lives, she can cure them, but only at the expense of time off her own life. And so she keeps it a secret. It kind of runs in the family. She doesn't want anyone to take advantage of that. So because she doesn't know exactly what the science is behind how many days she loses. So until the powerful Fernglove family discovers her secret, they live in this elite rich mansion running off their own magic. And the rumor is that they contract people to work for them to help solve this virus called blight. It's incurable. And so they're trying to cure it, but the rumor is that they bring them in with a threat and then kind of waste their life away trying to cure this. And so it kind of seems like she's a little weary, and she goes after her brothers. Two of them both contract blight, and she can't save both of them. So in order to try to save them and everyone else, she goes to work for this family. And she's really suspicious of their power. She doesn't know. And so she stays in the manor. She starts to kind of fall for this really strong, like male figure of the house. He's taken over for his father. And so maybe there's more to them. Maybe she could love them. Maybe they're not as bad. And also the house's pristine exterior starts to kind of crumble in as secrets are revealed. It's a slow burn fantasy, a lot of world building, and it's an escape for romantasy fans. I feel like there's that forced proximity trope. I love that. And there's also this mystery at the end. Also some cottagecore vibes, which I'm very happy for. This one I couldn't put down. We were unpacking boxes at ALA, and I was like, I just want to go read this book. So it's very exciting. And then next, This is the start of the roundup. So we have Boudica. This is a lusty, magic-filled romantasy about British warrior queen Boudica, inspired by the attack on Roman Britain. We know from Madeline Miller that everyone loves reimagining of history, and this reimagines a Celtic goddess with magic for the modern reader. So then we also have Galaxy Raiders by New York Times bestselling author Ian Douglas, the first installment in a new military sci-fi series, pitting immortal humans against mystifying alien intelligence. And then on the next slide, we have This Will Be Fun. The Princess Bride meets people we meet on vacation. It's a cozy quest romantasy about a group of friends who once defeated their magical land together. They reunite for a royal wedding and end up on a new adventure to save the realm. And then we have Prince Without Sorrow. It's a debut. It plunges readers into the first amazing book of a trilogy. There's haunted witches, romantic angst, and political intrigue. If you like the Hurricane Wars, it's perfect for you. There's this classic fantasy tropes all in there, but it's inspiration from a rich tradition of ancient Indian history and folklore with a fresh perspective. And there's also queer representation. And sorry, I'm going to go back. I just told you I was going to do this. So Boudica is January 21st, 2025. This Will Be Fun is September 10th. 2024. And then I have the other two somewhere. I will find them. Hold on. This Will Be Fun. I'll come back to those. I'll put them in the chat. Or I'll put them in where we can. I'll come back to them. So on this next slide, we have The Prince Without Sorrow. Oh, maybe we don't. Sorry. I've Starlight Air. Sorry. So this is A Court of Thorns and Roses meets Prince of Persia. It's perfect for fans of Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros who are looking for their next obsession. And it's really spellbinding. It's a romantasy inspired by Persian and Indian mythology. There's a really a kind of reluctant allies coming together, another forced proximity, which is my favorite, trying to save the realm as the tension grows between them. And that's me. Oh, okay. So we're stepping back to really exciting authors who have videos for us. So I'm not going to really introduce much of this. It's Paula Hawkins, and she spoke at ALA at our thing, and we thought we have to bring that to you now. And she's fantastic. This book is such a fascinating, beautiful read. I'll let her talk about the rest.
Hello, librarians. I set the Blue Hour on an isolated Scottish island accessible to the mainland for only 12 hours a day. Through her letters, interviews, and art, we meet Vanessa, an infamous artist whose notoriously unfaithful husband disappeared after visiting her on the island 20 years ago. And now, a present-day discovery about Vanessa's art threatens a carefully concealed secret. Thank you so much for all you do for authors and readers.
Short and sweet, but this book packs a punch. You all know Paula Hawkins, so not much introductions needed, but let me tell you, it's about an artist, and I can smell the paint on those pages. It's beautiful. Okay, next. Okay, speaking of Paula Hawkins, she just gave a really great quote for this book, Killer Potential by Hannah Deach. It's a thrill ride of this book. I can't wait for you all to read it. It's a debut. It's our Winter 25 lead read, which is a program where everyone in the sales department kind of gets behind a book and votes, and that was the winner. It was acquired in a really passionate auction, even like a 4-way house bid. There's something for everyone. It's a fast-paced cross-country chase combined with mediations on privilege that's earned versus privilege inherited, pressure of first-generation college graduates, and the responsibility owed to those we love. But it's so fun and dark and sultry, and there's a queer romance. It's about a scholarship kid who's kind of told she's special, and after college, she's left with a lot of debt. So she takes up SAT tutoring for rich kids in LA. She comes and there's a murder, and she has someone under the stairs saying, "I've been tied up, help." Like, well, she's screaming help. She's not saying much, but she looks like she's been tied up. And so she has to decide, does she trust her? Is she going to be blamed for this? They go on the run. And she shows up. She has to figure out how, like, what happened and why she's there, and who, if she trusts her. And as the press starts to speculate about her charmed life turned killer, they go on this like cross-country road trip. If you like My Dark Vanessa, it's kind of got that same voice. It's really a beautiful read, but a fun thriller at the same time. And Paula Hawkins, sorry, I said compelling and cool. Hannah Deach has written a Thelma and Louise for our times. So.
Okay, Oligarch's Daughter, Joseph Binder. Joseph is a New York Times bestselling author of 15 suspense novels, including House on Fire, and he's a brilliant writer. So this is his first book with us, and we're really excited to have him at Harper. So this follows Paul Brightman, who's on the run with a $1 million bounty on his head. He's living under a fake name in a small New England town when his cover is blown, so he has to flee to the middle of nowhere in New Hampshire because Russian ops are after him. He ended up in this situation because he fell in love with this gorgeous photographer named Tatiana 6 years earlier while he was working on Wall Street. The issue, Tatiana's father was a Russian oligarch, hence the name of the book, and he had caught the attention of the US government. Now, to save his own life, he has to uncover the conspiracy. It's this classic spy novel, but it feels very refreshing and new. And they said right there, this is among his very, very best. And that is on sale in January. So next, okay, you know her, you love her. She is the author of Reese's book club pick and New York Times bestselling novel, Wrong Place, Wrong Time. And we have another phenomenal thriller from her. And this one begs the question, how well do you know the person closest to you? So Camilla is a new mother and she is finally returning to her job as a literary agent after months on maternity leave. She drops her infant off at daycare for the first time. She gets to work and the office fills with police. There's a man who has taken 3 hostages and is in a standoff nearby. Luke, her husband, someone she's loved for over 10 years, is the kidnapper. So we flash forward 7 years. Her husband has disappeared. And she's been quietly accepting that she'll never really know what happened that day. And she's beginning to let him go when she gets a text that sends her to an anonymous location. So this is this page turner that explores marriage, motherhood, secrets, and she's just really done it again. And I know you're going to love this one as much as you loved her previous books. Next. Passing it off to Lainey.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a couple of roundups of some fun thrillers. We have Double Barrel Bluff. It's coming in November from Lou Berney. He's won every mystery crime fiction award out there, and he returns back to Bushan, the ex-con wheelman who can't seem to stay out of trouble in exotic locales. This time he's going to Cambodia and the jungle. And as always, Bernie's plot zips along with surprises, setbacks, and eccentric characters at every turn, propelled by a sharp dialogue and wit. And then we also have What the Wife Knew by Darby Kane. She's a library favorite. I feel like she always makes the library reads Hall of Fame pick, and then she just recently is in the Hall of Fame. That's coming in December. It's another twisty domestic thriller about a wife wondering who tried to kill her husband twice before finally succeeding, especially because that's what she was gonna do. Next.
Karen Feeding. I love this cover. Every time I look at it, I wish I had it as a painting in my apartment. So this is a candid memoir from Lori Williver, who's a writer and editor. She spent over a decade assisting Anthony Bourdain, who she co-authored multiple cookbooks with. And she's written about food for so many publications, and she's just a really fascinating and fantastic writer. This memoir traces her life from her small town childhood to working in high-end restaurants with Bourdain and Mario Batali, who were incredibly helpful to her career, but she was also at times overshadowed by them. It goes into her chaotic life, talking about how she carved a space into the world of food for herself, her relationship with marriage and motherhood, and questions of how do you hold on to what you value. It's honest, thought-provoking, and a really beautiful read. So next. Okay. 2 memoirs for you. Becoming Spectacular, on sale March 18th, 2025. I know it's in the title, but Jennifer Jones is truly spectacular, and so is this book. She was the first African-American Rockette joining the team in 1987, and she takes you behind those velvet curtains to look at her experience breaking into one of the most celebrated dance troupes. And we also have Dear Aline, which is on sale March 4th, 2025. It's a memoir from content creator Aline, who goes by Dear Aline, and it has, I think she has like 3 million followers across different platforms, which is mind-blowing. But this isn't like about content creating. It's mentioned, but she goes into her life as someone who has lived for others her entire life, including her husband, her family, the Mormon church, and it's very vulnerable, and it's a moving memoir about starting over. So next, The In-Between Bookstore. This is a book that has the whole team and maybe all of HarperCollins like incredibly charmed. Edward is a YA author, but this is his first adult novel, and it follows Darby, a trans man who has left his hometown for college in New York City to try to get away, find community, and forget about a friendship that ended painfully. We meet him at nearly 30, and he's unemployed, broke, and is forced to move back to his hometown. And things are really different. But his ex-friend is still there. That relationship is strained. And the only other thing that seemingly remains the same in between books, an indie bookstore that was his safe space growing up and his high school job. So he goes into the shop, he gets this like weird feeling, this deja vu. Everything is exactly the same. And I mean, the newspapers are from 2009, the new releases are from 2009, and the teenager at the register looks a lot like he did at 16. So he's in this time slip, and he takes us as readers through a beautiful novel of self-discovery, love, and choices. Edward was at ALA this year, and he had a massive signing line. And I just think that proves that you should get your hands on this eGalley, which is available. Next.
Hi. Okay, I'm responding to the. I know you can't put the chat, but you can put in the Q&A like a chat, and so I'm kind of responding, and it's nice to hear from everybody. Hi, to all the friendly names. Okay, Library of Lost Dollhouses by Elise Hooper. So this is coming in April, and we're big Elizabeth. I don't know what I'm saying. We're big Elise Hooper fans here. Her debut novel was The Other Alcott, and it won awards, and then all of her novels really center around the lives of extraordinary but overlooked women in history. And this, we're so excited. It's a library story for one, but a bookish setting always is great. But also, she has her signature warmth and delightful characters, but it's her first contemporary novel. So if you're not strictly a historical fiction fan, this might be a time to join in. As a young girl, Elise inherited a dollhouse that once belonged to her great grandmother, and in the pandemic, she kind of looked back to it, thinking about all of the Frances Glessner Lee's miniatures. It was a combination love of miniatures, but a passion with like forensic science. And so Elise didn't want to tell that story, but she did really like that dollhouses could contain clues. And so in this, we have a head curator of a beautiful archival library in San Francisco who dedicates her life to the centuries worth of inventory housed there. And the library, though, is on the verge of bankruptcy, and she discovers two exquisite, never before seen dollhouses. They take her back in time, and she decides like maybe the last influential heiress who established a library a century ago is conveying a significant final message. Maybe she can save the library. So you kind of get to unravel this mystery as well. The library is where the story is set, and it is totally fictional, but I will say there are real people from history who come in and out. So it's also going to be a simultaneous hardcover edition. This will be an exciting one. Next.
Okay, and Significant Others, on sale April 1st, 2025. When I heard about this, I was like, this sounds like my nightmare. I have to read it. So Lena gets dumped and then enters a time loop of one-day relationships with people she had romantic relationships with. So it's this like combo marriage of like wish-fulfilling romances like Emily in Paris with the premise of Groundhog Day. When I heard about it, I thought of like 50 First Dates, but Groundhog Day is definitely more where it's at. It's all about the what ifs of life for sure. And then Work in Progress, on sale January 14th, 2025. Again, we love books about books. You love books about books. And this is about Alice, who is having an absolutely horrible time and needs a reset. So she books a 3-week bus tour of literary and historical British sites. She expected to be on the bus with a bunch of 30-somethings who had like wanderlust, but instead it's a group of elderly ladies and an arrogant but hot Scottish bus driver. And the characters are so memorable and lovely, and it's such a fun book. So we're very excited about that one. Again, on sale January 14th. Next.
Okay. Death of the Author by Nnedi Okorafor. This is such a big book for us. I feel like everyone in all of our meetings at the publishing house are just like, can't stop talking about this book. It's going to be one you're going to want to take notice of. It's really sweeping, and I see it everywhere. She's the author of multiple award-winning and New York Times bestselling series, including Binti and Who Fears Death. currently in development at HBO with George R.R. Martin, and she's won like every major prize in speculative fiction. And her new novel, we find out about Zulu, who is a disabled Nigerian American woman who pens a wildly successful sci-fi novel, but as her fame rises, she loses control of the narrative. She's been kind of outcast by her large Nigerian family. Her life is kind of upended when, in the middle of her sister's lavish Caribbean wedding, she's fired from her university job, and then insult to injury, her novel is rejected. And so she's kind of at a low point. Her family, they have issues and she's working through them, but she just writes something for herself. And what comes out is is not a quiet literary novel like hasn't found success with, but it's called Rusted Robots. It's a far future epic where androids and AI wage war in the grown over ruins of human civilization. And so she's kind of catapulted in this literary stardom. The novel changes the future, not only for humanity, but for the robots who come next. And in this, you get a book within a book. So you get to read a little bit of Rusted Robots within the storyline. And it's kind of a masterpiece of metafiction, combining social commentary like Yellowface with the heartfelt humanity of Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I thought of like blending future and present, like How High We Go in the Dark. I think that's a good comp. And it hints at this speculative but grounded in reality. So if that's not your thing, you'll find it through this really beautiful family story. It explores identity and belonging. There's a lot layered here. I feel like it's a wild ride, but it's got a gripping twist, and there's a lot to discuss in this one. And the quotes, like George R.R. Martin, you see on the screen, Neil Gaiman, Ursula K. Le Guin, Luis Alberto Urrea, like the quotes just keep coming for this one. We're very excited. Next. Oh, Capital of Dreams coming in January, and Guatemalan Rhapsody coming in March. So Capital of Dreams, you might know Lullabies for Little Criminals. That was her previous book, but it was published in like 2006. It was a big hit, and this is set in an imaginative world, yet reflective of our own times. And it's a small country forgotten by Europe, and kind of old myths of trees that come alive and fairies start to come back, and an explosion of the arts and the consolations of philosophy. So it's an epic journey through the woods and raised towns during war, colliding with soldiers and survivors, and the main character must make a choice between kindness and her own survival. Guatemalan Rhapsody, we've had a big need for short story collections like Anthony Villas-Nassau's After Parties. Like that, it's, multifaceted and incredible look into this community. This also goes between Guatemala and Guatemalan Americans, so it seamlessly moves between the worlds, showcasing a breadth of experiences on both continents. Next is a really exciting one. This is The Lamb. This is contemporary queer folktale about a mother and daughter living in the woods. If you're interested in cannibalism as a metaphor, this is perfect. It's really also a story that feels like both universal and deeply intimate. The author, Chrissy Logan, says, deliciously dark and shockingly bold. Someone needs to make this into a film right now. So very exciting. The cover is cool for this one. It's coming soon. So yeah.
Okay, Lainey knows I'm a huge fan of books about cannibalism. That's why she threw that out there. So if you're missing Yellow Jackets, and you're in need for a bite of cannibalism, check that one out. But this is How to Sleep at Night. Talk about nuance. I think going into a little deeper into this election year, we all need some nuance. And this is a sharp comedy about marriage, family, and being stretched thin by politics. So Gabe and Ethan have been together since they were in their 20s. They have a nice job. They both have nice jobs, a cute daughter, a house in the New Jersey suburbs. Their politics are different, but their marriage is still good. But then Ethan decides he's going to run for Congress as a Republican. The hitch is he'll only do it if his liberal husband gives a blessing. So you already can see the conflict here. And then we have Nicole, a suburban mom who's wondering where the hell her younger self went. She lived in New York City. She dated men and women with ease and was on the road to a job in the art world. But now she's kind of sitting in her life like feeling like a decoration to her husband, and she wants more. When an old flame comes into her life, things change, and that old flame is Ethan's sister, Kate. So Kate is a political reporter, and her career is her whole life, but she's not fulfilled by it anymore. So when Nicole pops back in her life, she's completely thrown off, and everything is up in the air, especially with her brother running as a Republican for Congress. It's all like beautifully interconnected, and it's just so witty and such a fun read. And I just think it's a really timely book. The eGalley is not yet out, but keep checking that link for when it is, because you're not going to want to miss it. Next, Confessions. Okay, this is an immersive debut that follows 3 generations of women, taking us from rural Ireland to New York City and back. So in 2001, Cora Brady's father is the face on posters following the September 11th attack. She's dealing with this immense loss and pain when she gets a letter from an aunt that she didn't know she had. Her aunt lives in Ireland and offers her this chance to start over. The name of her aunt doesn't even ring a bell, but she does get brought back. She kind of remembers this video cassette game that she used to play as a child. And then our other timeline, 1974, a group of artists arrive in Burton Port in Ireland, and they move into a schoolhouse down the road from Roisin and her sister Moira. And Moira is this phenomenal artist, but she's kind of this mystery to her sister. She's hot and cold, kind and cruel, depends on the day. And Roisin enlists Michael, the boy next door, to get Moira a residency with a new artist. And this is gonna kickstart a divide between the sisters, physically and otherwise. And in a different timeline, again, 2018, in the same town, Leica lives in this house with her mother, Cora, and her great aunt, Ro. So Cora's an activist fighting for the right to abortion, which just became legal in Ireland, and Leica's kind of trying to figure out like her place in it all when a childhood friend reaches out. Leica then goes to search a mysterious attic and uncovers secrets that have been hidden for years. It's this ambitious, multi-generational novel about survival, revelation, and the gravity of the past. It's one of those books that you can't believe is a debut because it's just so phenomenal and well written. So next.
Okay, so we have The Wildlings by Lisa Harding. Lisa, as the Today Show read Jenna Pick, she wrote Bright Burning Things. And I feel like we just loved that story so much. Lisa was so kind. She did several events for us, and we really connected with it. And we were so ecstatic to know that we had her previous book, Cloud Girls, and then eventually this one on our list. So she just kind of keeps hitting it out of the park. And this one's different for her. It's the vein of The Secret History. It checks some of those dark academia boxes. And in the present, Jessica's undergoing therapy after the breakup of her marriage. She thinks, like that's not even her biggest issue, she thinks. She instead just kind of believes she's undeserving of happiness. And her therapist encourages her to start from the beginning. So she transports her back to the first year of Dublin's Wild College, where she and her best friend Linda met this group of boys and formed a quintet that would mark her passage into adulthood. And the girls have different personalities. And then, enter the boys. Jessica and Linda fall in love with the Wild Players, a group of dark, handsome pot-smoking thespians. And as the girls navigate their new romances, Linda begins to cut loose, entrenching herself in Mark's grip. And then their friendship evolves into something far more sinister. She really needs to reconcile with her past to heal her present. It's really moody and page turning, and it fuses the psychological precision of Sally Rooney's Normal People with the dark campus drama, like I said, of the Secret History, kind of demonstrating in the insidious ways trauma and escalating obsession throws off our lives off course. And we're excited for this other book from Lisa with a kind of really cool cover. Speaking of cool covers, Chloe, this is Connie Briscoe. I feel like all I need to say is beloved best-selling author Connie Briscoe, domestic thriller, and a retelling of Rebecca. I mean, are you sold? I feel like that's all I really have to say. But we recently published Connie's first book after a decade hiatus. And I know Virginia was really excited to hear about that one. She published You Never Know, I think last year. And she's such a big fan of Connie. So now we're excited to have another thriller. Angel is a private chef for the Harrisons, one of the most powerful Black families in Martha's Vineyard, and a big summer party is where she meets Everett Bruce, an influential Black billionaire still in mourning after his first wife, Chloe, committed suicide. He is enchanted by Angel, and she becomes his private chef at Riverwild, his mansion, mainly to get away from the controlling Mrs. Harrison. And romance ensues, and she soon begins to feel Chloe's ghost, sure to entice her legions of fans, but also grab a new audience. I am obsessed with this cover.
Okay, so this roundup is called Ripe for Discussion because we think all of these have a lot to talk about. So Fair Play on sale April 8th, 2025. I feel like I can say meta and murder and have a bunch of people instantly hooked, but this one goes very far beyond that, exploring grief, loss, and the depths of the human heart. So a group of friends get together on New Year's Eve to celebrate their friend's birthday party with a jazz age murder mystery party, which sounds very fun until the next morning in the mansion when everyone except one person wakes up. So a detective shows up and tries to sniff out the killer. And then we have Sea Friendship, which is on sale March 4th, 2025. This debut was so smart. It's about a culture editor in New York who pitches a podcast to his boss in order to stay ahead of layoffs that are coming up. But he's facing this writer's block and decides to go out and catch up with an old classmate. And he's told of the tragic truth about a friend of theirs who died 10 years earlier. He kind of spirals out. This sends him into a lot of grief, and he begins to investigate further. And it turns into this novel about existential questions and loneliness, growing up, and I think the digital age. And we've gotten a lot of early praise as well. So that's fantastic. And next, hate follow. Does anybody like obsessively hate watch certain influencers? Like I feel like it's a routine. Like I'm done with work and I'm gonna go watch the people that I can't stand online. So this deals with the controversy of putting kids in the public eye. Whitney's teenage daughter announces that she's tired of her mommy influencer mom always putting her on social media. And when Whitney finds this out that her daughter like wants to quit being in the public eye, Mia decides that she's going to sue her mom. So it's this really smart, engaging look at influencer culture. And we've been getting so much love for this one. It's on sale in October 10th of this year. So you can go check out the eGalley now. Next.
Ooh, The Mysterious Bakery on Rue de Paris. This is a really sweet novel. Couldn't help it. All I can think of is a sweetbread in this bakery. It's the best-selling author of The Lost Bookshop. And this Edie has put her life on hold to care for her dying mother, missing out on having fun and making mistakes in her 20s. So at 35, her mother has passed and she decides it's time to spread her wings and make a change. So she impulsively decides to leave Ireland for a job at a bakery in Paris, but thanks to a mistranslation, it's not in Paris and neither is she. It's a tiny town an hour away. The bakery is nestled in a charming little welcoming town, but it's a lot of secrets and a little bit of magic. It's kind of a quaint medieval town with cobblestone streets, very like atmospheric. And she finds a community there and kind of makes friends with the stern Madame Moreau, who has this bakery, and there's secrets. And also there's kind of some romance, but also a journey of self-discovery and a sprinkling of magical realism because there's a friendly ghost. Next. Okay, It's All About Love, 2 romance books for you. I'm the biggest Vari McFarlane fan, and she gives you all the tropes you love, but really delivers it with a lot of oomph. She dives into complex relationships and friendship and drama, but really like learning to love oneself, and crying and laughing, you'll do both. But she got a shout out in Emily Henry's last book because the character was reading Vari. And this is about a woman adjusting to life in the spotlight when she begins a relationship with a famous actor. It's a really highly anticipated follow-up to Who's That Girl, but you can read it as a standalone. It comes out September 3rd. And Give Me Butterflies is a STEM romance. So this is a story about grumpy sunshine, slow burn, STEM, nerdy romancers. Found family, single guardianship, and more is also in this book. It was self-published previously, gaining millions of readers, and there's bonus material in this edition, but we also, exciting, have 2 new books in the series that can be read as standalones, but series is coming, and this book is coming January 21st.
Okay, switching gears, but first I just wanted to give a thank you and shout out to everyone giving us feedback about our new format. We hear you and we appreciate it, and we'll make some tweaks for next time. So thank you. Now jumping into The Grieving Body. Grief and death are unfortunately the most universal experience. So I feel like this book is incredibly necessary. It's a follow-up to The Grieving Brain by Dr. O'Connor, who is professor of psychology and an expert on grief. This book focuses on the impact of grief and stress on the human body. And although it is a book by a neuroscientist and psychologist, it's incredibly accessible and profound. And it uses like personal stories to explore the topic. And it's not just like science facts thrown at you. And it touches on questions like, can we die of a broken heart? Why do we tend to get sicker during times of grief? It's very eye-opening and it feels like a very necessary read. Next.
Okay, so we have some kind of prescriptive titles or some nonfiction health titles. We have Matt Richtel. He spent nearly 2 years reporting the teenage mental health crisis in the New York Times series called The Inner Pandemic. And here he's providing an eye-opening, intimate window into the lives of adolescents today, as well as science that reveals the importance of these years in determining futures. It's really cutting-edge science, kind of paradigm shifting as well, how we can really set them up for the most success. It's coming April 1st, 2025. Then we have the crucial years. Middle childhood is about 6 to 12, and it's often overlooked as a stage of childhood development. But it's not uncommon for today to for girls to begin showing signs of puberty very young. And this book is an essential resource for those parents who are forced to navigate that specific physical and mental challenges sooner than anticipated. But it's science-based with a lot of like candid, actionable guidance in it as well. It's April 22nd. And next, okay, Earthly Materials. This seems really silly, but it's really fascinating, and we're intrigued, even if we say we're not, about our bodily emissions. And so from mucus to sweat, it goes on, revealing them to be as fascinating as they are embarrassing, and providing how essential they are to the human health. Wood's voice is funny and conversational, but it's a comprehensive look that no other book has done. So it's going to be very interesting. And then last, we have Qualified. Sherry is an accomplished, April 29th is Earthly Materials. Sherry Dunn in Qualified, it's coming February 25th, 2025. And Sherry Dunn is an accomplished journalist, well sought after speaker. But after this racial reconciliation in 2020, we saw a rise of like Black talent getting what they're due in the workplace, becoming managers, CEOs, junior level hires. But post 2020 workplace doesn't seem to be creating that workplace and leadership that reflect our nation's diversity and keeping it going, the momentum. So this book combines deep research with enlightening interviews and anecdotes across the broad spectrum of her career to uncover the history of competency checking and how it manifests in the workplace and what can be done to change it. Next.
New Nancy Johnson, People of Means. This team and librarians like you really loved her debut, The Kindest Lie. So we're really excited for this one. It's the story of an upper middle class Black mother and daughter coming of age in two different times of social reckoning, the civil rights movement, and the aftermath of the 1992 Rodney King verdict. So in 1959, Frida leaves Chicago to go south to Nashville, where she finds herself shocked by the level of blatant racism in the South. She meets a man who draws her into the civil rights movement and has to decide what she's willing to sacrifice. On the other hand, in 1992, Tulip is a PR professional who is on the road to a big promotion if workplace racism and politics don't get in her way. She decides to speak up about things at work and has to figure out, is she going to play it safe or stand up for what she believes in and her community? Although it is set in the past, this book speaks a lot to where we are today. And I think it's historical fiction at its finest because it's so easy to connect to the present. And it's a very powerful book. Next. Okay, The Girl from Greenwich Street, on sale March 4th, 2024. I almost said 2004. I don't know what's going on. So March 4th, 2025. So I was wrong twice. Hamilton fans, it is your time. This is a historical fiction novel about a true story of a famous trial in which Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr investigate a murder of a young woman. Think like Law and Order 1800. It's part murder mystery, part thriller, part true crime set against one of the most interesting time periods in America. And then Boy, on sale February 2nd, 2025. I think this one's really unique. I don't read or see a lot of books about Elizabethan London, but this is about a boy in that time period who's part of a William Shakespeare theater company. And at the time, women weren't allowed to be part of the theater, so men played women's roles. And Alexander, one of the main characters, has been a celebrated actor because of his young androgynous face that allows him to be dynamic in this way. And it's a really interesting look at gender and politics during this time, and is filled with a lot of rich historical detail. Next, we have The Boxcar Librarian on sale March 4th, 2025. I adore Bianca Labuscus, who wrote The Librarian of Burned Books and The Lost Book of Bon. Like I said earlier, we love books about books, and this one, it's a different era for her. She's been writing about World War II, but now we're in the Great Depression era. And we meet Millie, who's an editor, and she's sent off to Montana after a potential political scandal kind of gets her in trouble. And she gets entranced by the mystery of a local librarian and the Boxcar Library, which is a converted mining train that brings books to isolated rural areas. It's basically a bookmobile, and it's just a really beautiful book about women's stories, and it also has this queer love story at the center. Next.
Okay, The Second Chance Convenience Store by Kim Ho-yeon. This is named one of Korea's best books of the year. It's already sold over 1 million copies, and I think all three of us have been swept away by this beautiful, heartfelt read. It restores your faith in humanity if you just need a really feel-good read. So Doc Go lives in Seoul Station. He can't remember his past, and the only thing he knows for sure is that he could use a drink. So he finds a lost wallet filled with documents, and now his life is about to change drastically. So Mrs. Yom, a retired history teacher and current owner of the neighborhood's corner store, is really distraught over losing her purse, but she receives a mysterious call from the person who found it. To thank this down on the luck stranger, she offers him a free meal from the convenience store, and seeing how much joy, she says, you know what, just come by every day for lunch and I'll give that to you because I'm really thankful. In a twist of fate, the Dako saves the store from a robber, a brave act that propels Mrs. Yom to offer this man a job working the night shift, and the store's new employee quickly wins over the hearts of the whole neighborhood. And just when things are looking up, Mrs. Yom's good-for-nothing son, eager to sell the store, hires a detective to dig into the mysterious man's past and what he seems to be trying to get away from. It's a really wonderful story of community and the fight to keep your community close. And I think, even book club reads, it's going to be really a good discussion book. And like I said, your heart will overfill. So that's The Second Chance Convenience Store. And then I just quickly want to shout out Eddie Winston is Looking for Love by Marianne Cronin. I know we have some fans probably on here. Marianne Cronin, I loved The 100 Years of Lenny and Margot. That was her debut, and I kind of was like, that was my hand to anyone read in 2021, but she's done it again. These are the same themes of unlikely duos and a balance of lighthearted and sad as the first one. Perfect for book clubs. Eddie is 90 and he's lived and he's loved, but he's never been kissed. And he meets Bella, a troubled young woman who at 24 has lost the love of her life. And now they're going to help Eddie find love. So they go on an adventure together and they go unexpected places. And it's really, really sweet. It's not as much of a tearjerker as the first one. I feel like I maybe have to tell people that, but it's got a lot of heart in it. It's very sweet. And that comes out September 10th.
Okay, and another feel-good read, The Cat Who Saved the Library. My two favorite things, Cats and Libraries, on sale April 8th, 2025. This is a feel-good novel about a young girl who spends most of her time at the library, snuggled up in the stacks, and one day she notices her favorite books, literary classics in particular, are disappearing. She alerts the staff, but they're pretty unconcerned and they dismiss her. And she's in the library, she spots a strange man, and she tries to follow him, but has an asthma attack and can't. But she teams up with a talking tabby cat to save the books. It's this really sweet homage to like the power of literature. And next we are going to start wrapping it up here. We wanted to remind you of these books that are all on sale now. The Memo, if you haven't read it yet, run to go read it. It pokes at that life's what ifs question again, about a woman who goes to her college reunion feeling really bad about her life. And she gets a memo that she is going to have a chance to relive her life, but at what cost? It's received phenomenal quotes and starred reviews from Kirkus and Booklist, and we really love this one. So that's The Memo, and Lainey's gonna pass it off to you.
Yeah, I feel like I could talk about all of these because we love them so much. But The Coast Road, I just want to shout out Virginia Stanley's amazing interview with Alan Murren. This is set in 1994 before divorce is legal in Ireland. So it's like these brave, wise female characters, and how they can inspire, empower us as we continue to fight for freedom today. So you can watch that interview on our site. It's really lovely, and he's fantastic. That was a strong debut. It was great. Keeps going. And then next, okay, we have the next in the series, and this is all in the Edelweiss catalog and your spreadsheet. So next is, if we had more time, don't you know that like we have an embarrassment of riches. We're so excited, but if we had more time, we could talk books all day, which I know you all could too. So next. Okay.
Oh, here
You
it
ready?
is. Drum roll,
Okay. So
everybody.
this was not available to us at ALA because we wanted to tell everyone. So you're getting the exclusive here. It just was announced and we were like, we have to put it in there. So drum roll. Next. Summer in the City by Alex Astor, fresh off the press. So New York Times bestselling author of the Light Lark book, Alex Astor comes. This is her adult debut. Swoony, fast-paced rom-com set in New York City, about a screenwriter and a sexy tech CEO. They go from lovers to enemies and back to lovers again. Go check her out. Alex's announcement on social media. So, woo!
We are very, very excited. So yes, there are more books in those roundups that we couldn't include on the slides because we would have 80,000 covers there. So check out the Edelweiss catalog. I am very excited for you all to dip into this, and thank you for all of the sweet comments and the feedback on the new format. We really appreciate it. We'll make changes for next time. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sticking with us. It's something new and different, and I think overall the response is that you love it. But if you don't, and you don't want to put it in this chat, that's fine. Email us, let us know. We know what's working and what's not, and we can take that into advisement. We also had some questions about eGalley access because I know at the top I was like, it's mainly eGalley access is what you'll need. If you want to be whitelisted, you don't have to wait. You're just automatically approved. Send us an email at librarylovefest@harpercollins.com. And you can also find it on this information, but let us know and we'll get you all set up. We won't have to request it. It's Edelweiss and NetGalley. And is that my last slide? I can't remember. It is. Good job, Grace.
1 minute over
Amazing.
is so good for us.
Isn't it? We got so many books in. Well, thank you, everyone. We're really excited. And as you can see, we have so many books. Thank you to the whole Booklist team. Grace and Taylor, they're amazing. And we're always in really good hands. So shout out to them. Thank you so much.
Thank you both, Lainey and Grace. Lots of positive feedback in the Q&A for these awesome titles. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's video recording, title list, slide presentation, and a certificate of completion. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones like those you see here. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. One more huge thank you to the Library Love Fest team, our host and sponsor for such an engrossing title list. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time.